Hi, everybody. It's Mike, and I'm here to talk about the Kings of War TO tools that I've been working on off and on for the last year now. Hopefully, you're here because you are interested in using these tools to run a Kings of War tournament. Maybe you've done it before, and you're just here to check out what's new in version 4, which I will cover. Or if you're here for the first time, this is the easiest way for you to figure out how to use them to get set to run your event, and then what the workflow during the event looks like. I'm going to cover kind of both how to get started for the first time, and also what's new in this version for the folks that have been around for the last year or have already used it before. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully, you've already gotten the files from the Facebook group. If not, and you don't know where to find them, then come find me on Facebook, and I'll add you to our Facebook group where you can download the current copies of the files. For those of you who are familiar with this, go ahead and open up your browser to the current release versions of the spreadsheet. And that's the first change, is that now there's only one spreadsheet for the TO and one for public. There used to be one for both the different scoring systems, one copy for blackjack and one copy for bar shroud. And now that's been unified, and there's only one copy of the spreadsheet. So that's the newest thing. First new thing that I want to point out to you guys. And basically now the setup checklist on the README is all you need to do to get set. And this is a much more streamlined process than it used to be. So the first thing I'm going to do here in the video is go through the setup checklist and make the spreadsheets for my own event, Vanguard GT, which is coming up in about a month and a half at this point. So you guys get to watch me do this live and see if you've never done it before, how to do it, how to set it up, and if you have done it before, how much simpler it is now to do. There's a lot less um, editing, lots of things in lots of places, and more just walk through the steps here. So, all right, step one. Let's get started. Step one of the setup checklist is make a new copy of the TO and public spreadsheets and rename them for your event. So here we go. Here's the TO spreadsheet. In this other tab, I have the public version of the spreadsheet that players can see open. So we're just going to up to the file menu and make a copy. And I'm going to call this Vanguard GT 2024 TO. Very important to leave the TO part in there. And then I'm going to pop over to the public file and do the same thing. Go to File, make a copy, and name that Vanguard GT 2024 public release, or public results rather, and make a copy. All right, now I can close the release copies because now I have my own copies to work with, and I can go on to step two. Remove any old data from the roster, form responses, end of tournament votes, appearance scores, and pairing tabs in your new TO spreadsheet. There shouldn't be any, but double check just to be sure. So let's take a look. The roster has just the ringer in it, which it has by default. New pairings has pairing between two ringer accounts that we definitely don't need anymore. Let's get rid of those. I'll get rid of those before I put out the release. Tidy things up a little more. Responses, we got no responses, no inter-tournament votes, no pairings, no results. The scope is clear, which is what we want. We don't want any old data hanging around. Total results, that's just the ringer because he's in the roster. That's fine. Awards should be blank except for the ringer. Yes. Appearance scores should be blank except for the ringer's name. Score scores. Okay, good. Everything's nice and clear, except where the ringer is there by default because he's in the roster, which is what we expect. Cool. Okay. So now, in your TO spreadsheet, run TO tools, check form responses. So that's one of these options up here under the TO tools menu. This is where you're going to find all the menu options that you need to run, both to set up the event and kind of manage and run the event. And I'll be getting into those in more details a little later after we finish setup. So we go to TO tools, we go down to check form responses, we select it. And the first thing that's going to happen is Google's going to pop up an authorization required dialog asking for permission to run the scripts that are attached to this spreadsheet. So you will have to do this once. Every time you make a copy of the spreadsheet, a new copy, you'll have to reauthorize it to run the scripts. So you can basically just click through that. It'll ask you to choose a Google account. I know you guys can't see it because it's in a separate window. Um, it'll show you a warning and tell you Google hasn't verified the app because there doesn't really seem to be a process for me to submit the scripts on a spreadsheet to get verified. Um, so you're going to get a warning that looks kind of scary. There's going to be a little gray button over to the left labeled advanced that you'll want to press. And underneath that, there will be a go to TO tools, which is labeled as unsafe, also in gray, which you'll need to click through. And then it'll tell you TO Tools wants to access your Google account, and you will need to allow that to get these scripts to run. All this is doing is telling Google it's okay for the scripts on this spreadsheet to access the data in the spreadsheet, which is stored on your Google Drive because they are your copies of the file now. It's not really anything scary. Google is just telling you this to make you aware of what's going on, and you kind of need to accept this so that the functionality actually works. So it looks a little scary, but approve it. You'll probably get an email letting you know that you approved it. And now we will need to, now that we've gone through the approval process, go up here to TO Tools and run check form responses one more time. It'll tell you that the script is running, and then it'll tell you that it's finished, and visibly nothing will have changed, and that's fine. That's what we want. So the reason we do this is the first time we run it, it creates a trigger that will run automatically, so that when players submit game results, we will automatically check those game results for consistency with their opponent's numbers, just to make sure that they both match and they didn't put in two different scores or whatever. That will also trigger their score being calculated on the round results tab, which I will also get to later. That'll make more sense later. If you forget to do this, those things will not happen automatically, and you will wonder why your spreadsheet doesn't seem to be doing as much for you as it's supposed to. So remember to do that. But again, it's right here in the setup checklist. So just run through them and follow them, and it's no big deal. Okay, on your public spreadsheet. Now the next few steps are going to be about the public spreadsheet, getting it ready to go. Open the share menu and set it to anyone with the link can view. So let's pop over to our public spreadsheet. And those of you who have done this before will note that the public spreadsheet looks more colorful than it used to. Um, I finally went through and added some formatting and figured out how to get that formatting to carry through to the HTML version that players see. And that's part of what we're doing here right now. We need to go to the share dialog up here in the top right. We need to go down to anyone with the link, and that needs to be set to viewer, which is the default. And anyone on the internet with the link can view is what you need. And then you hit done. Now, what that's going to do is apparently Google will not show the formatting of the spreadsheet to people viewing the HTML version unless the permissions are set that way, which seems weird and not explicitly like what that setting is supposed to do. But apparently that's how it works. So that's important to do because it'll make the results a lot more readable for your players. Next, in your public spreadsheet, run TO Tools Setup Wizard to point it at your new TO spreadsheet. So this is something that is also new. This is a step that used to be very cumbersome that I've replaced now. So you go to TO Tools on your public spreadsheet, you run the Setup Wizard. It's once again, since it's the first time you're running the scripts in this spreadsheet, it's going to make you go through the same verification process. So again, you just click through, you hit advanced, you hit go to public TO tools, you tell it to allow it to run, and then you go run it again. I apologize that it works that way, but that's just Google's permission model. You run the setup wizard again, and it's going to ask you for the full URL to your TO spreadsheet, which is the main one that we've been working on. So we pop back over to our TO spreadsheet, and we copy the full URL to it, get the HTTPS at the start all the way through, and you can stop before the /edit and then the column ID for whatever column you've currently got highlighted. You don't actually need that. It doesn't hurt to include it, but you don't actually need it. So you really just need, the big long kind of random string that uniquely identifies this spreadsheet. You can skip everything, the /edit and everything after that. But again, if you grab it, not that big a deal. We pop back over, we paste that in, and we hit OK. Now that's going to go through and update all of these tabs to point to and pull data from your public spreadsheet. You will need to allow access the first time you do it, or it'll throw an error, but then everything will work fine. So this step used to be very cumbersome. You used to have to go through every tab in the public spreadsheet and copy and paste the URL for your new TO spreadsheet into every tab to make sure that it was pulling data from the correct place. Because by default, it's still pulling data from the release copy, which means as your results come in, your players won't see them. It'll just have maybe test data or old data in it, and that's not what we want. So this basically turns that into just one step. You run that wizard, and it goes through. As we can see, our URL ends in W84, and this ends in W84. If we go to round one pairings, it also ends in W84. This also ends in W84. So it's gone through and updated the URL on all the tabs here for all the rounds. So you don't have to do them by hand anymore. So that should save you a lot of time and be a lot less error prone than asking people to, copy and paste URLs lots of different places. So that's one of those like TO quality of life things that I kind of fixed to make it a little bit easier for folks. Then the last step for the public spreadsheet is we go to File, Share, and Publish to Web to get an HTML version. So we go up to the File menu, we go down to Share, we go over to Publish to Web. We want to hit Publish. No, I do not want to publish just the thing that I have selected. So you want to make sure you come down here to the bottom and open that. And there's an entire document, and hit Start Publishing. And you want to make sure that Automatically Republish when changes are made is still selected. And it'll ask you if you want to publish this document. And that's what we want. All right, then it's going to show you a URL here for a public HTML copy. So you want to copy that. And let's go ahead and open it and take a look. Okay. And what we'll see here is we get basically the same data. We get a view of the same data that is in the public spreadsheet, except the menus are gone. It's kind of stripped down, and it's just the data. But the color formatting has carried across because we updated the file permissions so that everyone with the link can view. Even though everyone with the link could view before you change that, again, it's kind of a weird interaction. But so this way you have this HTML version that you can direct users to, and it's just a lot easier for people to read on their phones when it doesn't have the menus and everything, and no one will accidentally try to like edit it or whatever. So yeah, so this is the version. This URL, this public HTML URL, is the one that you will want to tell your players, to view the pairings and to view the scores as your tournament goes on. So let's leave that tab open for now, because we're going to need it here in a minute. All right. So in your TO spreadsheet, back over in our main TO spreadsheet, run TO Tools Form Wizard to rename your forms and point them at your new HTML results. So I'm going to open one of the forms real quick and come over to the Form Responses tab, go up to Tools, go down to Go to Live Form, just so you guys can see where it starts. And you can see that it says KOW Game Results. That's the default name. So let's come back over to our TO spreadsheet now and follow that instruction. I just want to show you guys basically what it does, the before and after. So that was the before. All right, in the TO spreadsheet, run TO Tools, Form Wizard. It's all the way at the bottom. Script is going to run. It's going to ask what's the name of your event. I'm going to say Vanguard GT 2024. Next, it's going to ask for the URL of the HTML version of our public spreadsheet, which is what we just made here. So let's come over and copy that whole thing and paste that in here. And now that's going to run, and it's going to finish. Now let's pop back over. Let's reload our form, and you can see that the name has now updated to Vanguard GT 2024 game results. If I open up the end of tournament vote by going to Tools, Manage Form, go to Live Form, it also says Vanguard GT 2024 end of tournament voting. So that's been updated automatically for you. And the other thing that people used to have to do by hand to their forms is change the confirmation message at the end, which would tell people, now that thanks for submitting your results, click here to see the results. And that URL would by default point to the release version of the spreadsheet instead of the new public version you've made. So what that wizard has done is now it's gone through and updated that confirmation message for you on both forms to point to your public HTML results where your results are actually going to be. That was also kind of an error-prone step that people used to have to do, and they did by hand. Um, and sometimes people forgot to do it, so people would, players would submit their results and then click on the link in the confirmation message and get taken to a form that just had nothing in it or test data in it, and so it could be very confusing for people. So I've turned that into a wizard now. It's just one step, and it'll do it for you in both forms. All right, and now, so we're down to basically the last step for setup. And that's to make shortened URLs and QR codes for your forms and public HTML results. So for those of you who are new, this is kind of how the whole workflow works for the players. They're at the tournament. They have their phones on them. They have QR codes to scan to take them to the various forms they have to fill out and the public results page, so they can see what the scores are and see what their new pairings are. So that way people don't have to type in URLs. You can also make shortened URLs in addition to QR codes in case somebody's phone doesn't want to scan one. So that way they only have to type in, less than 10 characters to get to your spreadsheets. So you make these QR codes and shorten URLs, and you include them in your players packs or on your, if you have a per round score sheet, map packs, whatever that you're passing out, or you just want to print them on some pieces of paper and stick them up all over the hall so that people can get to them easily. That's how you direct your players to the forms that you want them to fill out and to the results so they can see what's going on, is with QR codes. And we've got to the step now where it's time to make our QR code. So you can go to Bitly. I'm just going to look up free QR code generator. No sign up. What do we got? Vistaprint, Bitly. Let's check out this one. There's a ton of them. They all work. This one's got too many options and I don't like it. QR code monkey is pretty good. Let's do that one. So back to our make shortened URLs for your forms and public HTML results. So let's start with our game result form. Let's copy that. Come over to our QR code maker, paste it in, and hit create QR code. There we go, and it's created a QR code. Now we download that as a PNG. That's an image file, and you're just going to want to save that and like name the file, game results or something like that, just so you can remember which QR code is which. So you download that, and that's the code you want people to scan after games to submit their results. Then we got another one here. This is for into tournament voting. Same thing. You just copy and paste. You create QR code. It generates another one. You download it. You rename it appropriately so you can keep them straight. And then the third one is you go to the public HTML version of the public results that you created. You copy that one as well. You paste that in here. Those are the 3 QR codes you need. You hit create QR code, and it creates a QR code for you, which you again download, rename to results or something like that, so you can keep them straight. And so that's the QR code that you would put up to tell people to scan to see new round pairings. That is also the URL that they'll be directed to after they fill out the forms. But for the first round, before people have filled in any forms, they're going to want to see what the pairings are, what table they're on. So this is a good QR code to have up for people to check out when they first get into the hall. Of if you want to find your pairing, your table assignment, whatever, scan this. So that's that one. And those are the 3 QR codes you have to make. And now that's it. We are now ready to start adding players to the roster and start making any other configuration or customization changes we want. So that's all. There used to be a lot of like going into the various formulas and tweaking things and copying and paste things into bars in lots of different tabs, and you don't have to do any of that anymore. This is it. This is the whole setup process, and we're now done. However long that took. Not terribly long. Mostly that was me talking, but it's a lot of just following these steps, running a couple of wizards, and renaming a couple of things. Um, and now you're very near ready to run your tournament. So let's start talking about the configuration options you have. So for those of you who have done this for a while, I'm sure you've been noticing this sort of big green area next to the setup checklist that was not there before. Several things that used to be a lot more cumbersome to change are now all right here in one place. These are some of the more common changes that people used to make in the previous world, where there were multiple versions of the spreadsheet and they were a little harder to work with. And now they're right here as drop downs. So the max points for every round, the point level you're playing at, is now a drop down here that you can pick from the different point levels that are supported, 1995 through to 2500, and you can pick that per round for all rounds. So for those of you who want to run a tournament where you start out with a small number of points and the games get bigger over the course of the tournament, you set the rounds appropriately. If you do it the other way, you start with big games and work down to small games. Again, you just set them appropriately to whatever you want them to be. This impacts how scores are calculated. So you can also go back and change them at any time if you want. These are not things that have to be set and left like they're not like submitted and set in stone once. You can flip them around whatever you want. Moving down, scoring system. So this is why now there's only one version of the spreadsheet, and they're not split by which scoring system you're using, because scoring system is now an option that you can select. You can pick between Blackjack, which is the standard published version of Blackjack, Bart Shroud, which is the published version of Bart Shroud V2, or you can select custom. And this again impacts how the scores are calculated by the spreadsheet and can be changed at any time. So if after your event you're like, hey, I wonder what would have happened if I had scored it differently, if I'd used Bart Shroud instead of Blackjack, you can come in here, flip to a different scoring system, recalculate all of the results and see what changed. But for setup purposes, we're just going to pick one of these that we want to use. I'm going to do Bart Shroud. That's fine. So that's what I'm going to do going forward. So if you select custom, I will tell you, because you know, unfortunately, no magical GUI popped up that would walk you all the way through writing a custom scoring system. If you select custom right now, by default, custom is the same thing as blackjack. If you want to actually customize it, you will have to muck with the code some. So if you select custom, you'll want to go up here to extensions, go down to apps script, and that's going to open up the script file associated with this spreadsheet. And you're going to want to probably ping me at that point and ask me what you're supposed to do. But this is me telling you right here. So if you scroll down to where the custom functions, custom game results um, starts, you can make changes to the actual code that calculates uh, the scores. I started with the custom is just blackjack, because I noted over the course of the year that most of the score customizations people did were just slight variations on blackjack. So if you're running a tournament that's blackjack with um, different scenario scoring charts, or a custom scenario that you're doing that isn't one of the defined ones and you want to add it, you can do those things in here pretty easily. I'm happy to help people figure out how to do it. If you've got any coding proficiency, if you're used to doing any sort of programming work or configuration work, if you're technically proficient or whatever, you can probably figure out how to do this yourself. And if you mess it up, then you can pretty easily fix in any issues. You just back out any changes you've made, um, and get in touch with me, and I can help you do whatever changes you want, so long as they're not too drastic. If you want me to completely implement a new scoring system for you, I might be like, let's wait till the next release to do that. Or I might be like, yeah, I've got plenty of time. Let me do that for you real quick. We'll see. It kind of depends on what I got going on, right? I can't promise to write everybody's spreadsheet for them custom every tournament. But I will help out however I can with however much time I have. So there. So if you want to customize scoring and you don't want to go with just the published version of Blackjack or Bart Shroud, you can do that here, and that's how. You just got to do a little coding work. Not a big deal. However, I'm going to do Bar Trout. All right. The next thing here are the sportsmanship scores. So another thing that people changed often is how much the different sports votes are worth, both per round and at the end of the tournament. Currently, I have this set where a good game vote, which is a good game vote from pop over to. So in the game results, when the players answer yes to was it a good game, currently you get 2 points for every good game vote, meaning at the end of the tournament, if all 5 of your opponents gave you a good game vote, you'll have 10 points. If you want that to be less, you can change this to 1, and they'll get 1 point. If you want it to be more, you can change this to, I don't know, 5, and they'll get 5 points. That'll give them 25 points worth of sports just for playing nice and friendly every round. Um, but I'm going to set that back to 2. This is also one of those dynamic things where if if you run a couple rounds of test data and you want to see how this impacts the scores, you can come and change them on the fly and they'll change around. Same thing for favorite opponent vote and second favorite opponent vote. These come from the, let me show you the end of tournament voting, favorite opponent and second favorite opponent. So at the end of the tournament, when people vote for their favorite opponent, second favorite opponent, and player's choice, that's how many points they get for every. So this is 4 points for every favorite opponent and 2 points for every second favorite opponent. If you want more, you change it to more. If you want less, if you want it to be 2 and 1, so that every favorite opponent vote only gives them 2 sport points, and every second only gives them 1. You change it there. That's pretty straightforward. And if you want to see the results of these, if you scroll all the way to the end past total results, there's a sports scores tab. It's currently blank because we don't have anything in it, but this is where the sports scores totals will wind up. Or you can take a look at total results, which also has the sports score column all summed up for you. Just if you want to see what impacts changing those values has. And the last thing that is a common customization that people do is whether they choose the best club award based on the battle score or the overall score with all the soft scores added in. So I've also changed that to be a drop down so people don't have to go change that. Um, it's a little unclear because these are the column names, the column letters on the total results tab. But you can choose between battle and overall, and as it says there, battle is C. You pick C if you want battle. You pick I if you want overall. Um, Again, not 100% intuitive. It's a little bit of an implementation detail, so my apologies for that. But it's written right there next to it. If you want battle, you pick C. If you want overall, you pick I. And I want overall, so I pick I. Okay, those are the configuration options. Those are the common configuration changes. So at this point, I'm basically I'm ready to start my tournament. I can kind of get started now. So that's the end of the um, quick start and configuration stuff, and now we're into actual tournament running. And the first step, which you can do, piecemeal as your results come in, is to add all of your players to the roster. So the next tab after the README is the roster. And what you're going to want to come in here and do, you can leave the ringer if you want. He's there by default. Or get rid of him if you don't need a ringer, or get rid of him and then put him back later. It kind of doesn't matter. You can do this in whatever order you want. I'm just going to paste all of the people who have signed up for my event in. There's all 32 players. I'm going to come up here and reorder this alphabetically. Now, normally I would fill in the club, but for our purposes here, I'm going to leave club blank for now. So the roster is where you keep your list of all of your active players, basically. And one thing that I'll point out to you guys is up here at the top, there are some columns that the header is green, and for this entire spreadsheet, columns that are in green are supposed to be edited by the TO. Those are your fields to update. Other fields are updated automatically. And if you try to change them manually, something will probably come along and reset it. But if it's green, it's for you to make changes to. So we pasted our players in. We'd add the clubs in there. That's important for club immunity. Uh, I I'll give you a little safety warning here. Make sure when you paste in the players that there are no trailing spaces after their names, because things work on automatic on like exact matches, and player names with a space at the end might throw some stuff off later. Same thing with the clubs. So just make sure you don't have any trailing spaces or anything. Clubs again are important for club immunity and for figuring out the best club. And then there's just some battle score, your total attrition, the opponents that you've faced already in your strength of schedule, just to have like kind of a snapshot of people's scores here at the beginning of the spreadsheet. Over here at the end, the last two columns here, this column is labeled have pair, excuse me, have list, and two columns, and I stuck the names together. Have list. This is literally just a checklist column for whether or not the players have submitted their list for the tournament to you. It doesn't have any functionality. It doesn't do anything. I just wanted some place to keep track of that, and I thought the roster seemed like a good place to do it. You are free to completely ignore that column if you keep track of that someplace else. But the last column here does do some magical stuff. That's a column labeled pair question mark. And what that does is determine whether or not you should add the player on that row when you pair the next round. So this is where if you have to drop someone from the event in the middle of the event, this is how you do it. This column right here, pair on the roster. So if you need to drop someone from the event because maybe after Saturday they had to leave and they're going to miss the last two rounds on Sunday, put something in that column on that player's row. Okay, and it doesn't matter what you put there. You can put a Y, an N, a period. You can type yes. You can type no. It doesn't matter. If there's anything there, that player will be left out of the pairings entirely when you generate the pairings for the next round. As long as they're listed with something there, that'll happen. You can drop them from one round if you want. You can if somebody's got to leave early on Saturday, before you do the round three pairings, you put an N there to indicate you don't want them paired. You'll generate the round three pairings. You won't have them. Then they come back Sunday morning and they want to play in round four. You go and delete that out. You generate the round four pairings and they'll be back in. Okay. So this is where you drop people from the tournament if you don't want to include them in future rounds. I would not recommend deleting people from the roster once the event starts because that messes up people's opponents that they previously played and strength of schedule and stuff like that. So before the event, when things happen, change the roster, the actual player list in the roster. Once you've started the event, then just use the pair column at the end to remove people from pairings. So now that we've added our players to the roster, there's one more little setup step that we want to do, and we want to go up to TO Tools and select Sync Roster to Forms up here under TO Tools. Okay. And that's going to run a script. And what that's going to do is it is going to take your roster, it's going to update all the drop downs in the two forms, the round results form and the end of tournament voting form. It's going to update all those drop downs with all of the players that you've just put in the order you put them in. So let me refresh those. And now we can come hit the drop down and there's all our players. Previously, these just said ringer because that was all that was there. But now we get everybody. This is very, very useful and very important. So anytime you make changes to the roster, you add or remove people, um, make sure to run TO Tools, sync roster to forms to make sure that all the players who are currently playing are in all the drop downs. And again, that's a one-step thing you do that'll do it everywhere for you, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, so our forms are updated, our players are all in. Let's make some pairings. Let's make some first round pairings. That's the very next tab. So we're going to come over here to the new pairings tab. We're going to go up to TO Tools, and the first option is Generate Pairings. So let's go. Let's generate some first-round pairings for our tournament. It's going to ask you a couple of questions. Club immunity, should I pair club mates? I'm going to say no, because I want club immunity for the first three rounds. I haven't put in any clubs yet, so this isn't going to functionally do anything. But if you're doing club immunity like most people do at the beginning, you should pick no for should I pair club mates for the first few rounds. It's going to ask you to randomize table numbers. So if you say no to this, it's going to put people in battle order. So the top table is going to be, table one will be the people with the two highest battle scores, and so forth and so on down. If you tell it to randomize the table numbers, it's going to put people wherever. Since this is the first round and no one has battle scores yet, it kind of doesn't matter. In subsequent rounds, this will be a little more meaningful. I'm going to say yes. Go ahead and randomize the table numbers. Otherwise, alphabetically, the first few people will be at tables 1, 2, and 3. It doesn't really matter that much. So you'd say yes. So it's going to go ahead and run, and it's going to spit out new pairings for us. And there they are. Now, if this wasn't round one, if this was say round two that we were generating pairings for, and some people hadn't submitted their round one results yet, then you would have gotten another dialogue warning you that some results were missing and asking you if you want to go ahead and generate pairings anyway. So that's just a warning, like just in case somebody forgot to put in their score and you didn't notice, just to let you know, like, hey, we're about to generate pairings and we don't think we have all of the actual data yet. But since this is the first round, there are no existing rounds to worry about. Everything's fine. But if in the course of you running the tournament that pops up, that's what that means. All right, so we've got our pairings, we've got player and opponent and table number, and these are the three columns that we're going to want to copy into the round one pairings tab. So let's do that. Let's grab these three, and they are green, And we're going to pop over to round one pairings, and we're going to paste them right in there. And you'll notice that total battle and total attrition scores popped up for you. Once people have scores, those will have actual numbers in them, but you don't need to change them because they're not green. Okay. And so now that was it right there, right? We pasted it to the round one pairings tab. These results are now public. Okay. If we pop over to the public version of the spreadsheet, we go to round one pairings, we can see that they're there. If we go to the HTML version, which can take a minute or two to update, but they are already there. Round one pairings is already available. So as soon as you copy from the new pairings tab where you generate the new pairings over to the round pairings tab, they are published. So that means any changes you want to make to the pairings, you should do on the new pairings tab before you copy them. And the new pairings tab is just where the pairing script dumps its output. After it's done that, it's sort of a scratch pad for you to change things around however you need to or want to. And a good example of why you might want to change the pairings from the auto-generated pairings is you might have um, a table that you stream, for example, and you want to put a specific match on that table, in which case, let's say that table one is a streaming table, and we want to watch this first match, Alex Chavez and Joey Greek, on table one. That's fine. The people who are currently on table one are Brian Swinson and Matt Schenker. So we would change this table. We would change the Alex and Joey table to 1. We would change the Brian and Matt table to 11. We would need to keep going down. Here's Joey's, because we listed for both people in alphabetical order, so you can look down and find your own. And then here's Matt's line. We need to change the table here to 11. And then just copy and paste these again. Take them over to round one pairings and paste them over the results that are there. That change will get picked up automatically, and you don't need to do anything else. People will just need to refresh their phone. If you have players who you tell them that the pairings are published and they pull out their phone and they say, I don't see anything, just tell them to refresh their browser. That fixes most problems. Sometimes Google takes a minute or two for changes to make it all the way out to the public spreadsheet. And that's easily fixed by just asking people to wait a minute and refresh your phone. Just wait a minute and refresh your phone. And that should be all you really need to do. Another thing you might need to do here is you might have first round challenges that you need to fix, which you also can change by hand. So let's say, what would be a fun one? Let's say Alan Boehner and Mike Austin are actually doing a first round challenge, and they are at table 2, or Mike is at table 2, and Alan is at table 14, playing Mike Ireland, and Mike Austin is playing Bart Kohler. One way you can do challenges is to mark all of the players who are participating in challenges to not get paired in the first round, then generate the pairings, then add them all by hand. The other way to do it is to just generate the pairings and then come through and move them all around by hand. So in this case, we would want to take Mike Austin, put him there, and say that they are on table 2. Then we need to change Bart, who is no longer playing Mike Austin. He is playing Mike Ireland. Just down here. Again, it's very important that the names match exactly, so I recommend copying and pasting them rather than retyping them. Mike Ireland and Alan Boehner were on table 14, so now Bart and Mike Ireland is on table 14. Okay, so now Alan Boehner, Mike Austin playing on table 2, Bart Kohler, Mike Ireland playing on table 14. Now I need to go down and change Mike Austin to be playing Alan Boehner. Boom, on table 2 where he already was. And Mike Ireland playing Bart Kohler on table 14, which is correct. Okay, cool. So now we have the table we want to stream on table 1, and we have a first round challenge on table 2. So we copy this. Was I editing that on round 1 pairings? I was editing that in round 1 pairings. You can also do that. That's fine. I would recommend doing it over on new pairings. Sorry, I got a little ahead of myself. Go ahead and backport these so they're the same. I would recommend changing them in new pairings before you copy and paste them. But again, they're green. They're green columns, so you can edit them however you want. And that's generating and publishing pairings. Then in every future round, you would go through and do the same process. You go back to the new pairings tab. You would tell it to generate pairings. It'll run again. It'll ask you the same questions. No, don't pair club mates. Yes, randomize tables. Hey, results are missing now. Why are results missing? Because I just published the entire first round's pairings and no one has finished games yet. Should you generate pairings anyway? For the moment, I'm going to go ahead and say yes, just so you guys can see. So when the new pairings get dumped out, you'll note that their first round opponents are now listed here, so you can see who they already played. And the players are, have new pairings that are not against people that they've already played or clubmates, but there are no clubs. So if something happens and the script can't pair people for some reason, they will have no opponent listed and no table listed, right? You'll just have people over here in these columns who are just their name and nothing else, and that's how you know that there's been some sort of problem. um, that can happen because um, as it went through pairing people up, it got down to the last two people and they were in the same club, and you paid club immunity, so it couldn't pair them, so it just put them at the bottom. Or there might be something where a combination of club immunity and the people that they've already played keep them keep it from being able to automatically pair people. So if you end up with blanks for opponent and table, that means that's someone you have to manually pair, and you'll kind of have to eyeball it to see what the problem was. But all the data that you need to repair people should be right here. You can see their clubs, you can see their battle scores to make sure that like you're putting people with similar scores next to each other, and you can see who they've already played. So you can make those manual changes before you publish them. So this is kind of your before tournament, and then before you start every round workflow. You come in here, you generate pairings, you look over them to make sure they look reasonable. You can resort this by battle score if you want to see that the scores basically go from top to bottom with people playing each other, or you can maybe resort them by club, or excuse me, by table number to see that the people playing at tables together have similar battle scores, just to get that nice kind of warm and fuzzy that it put them in the order you want. And so then yeah, you copy and paste the pairings to round one, and then to round two, and round three, and round four, so forth and so on. Now, so we've got our first round pairings. They are published. I'm going to ignore these for right now because we don't have round one completed. And let's talk about what you spend most of your time doing during the actual tournament. And that is going on from new pairings to the next tab. That's the form responses tab. And this tab is where all of the submissions from players are going to land on your spreadsheet. So this is where when users submit their results via this form, the game results form, um, this is where those scores are going to end up. And most of the tournament, you basically spend as the TO watching this tab, watching the results come in on this tab. So let's see what that actually looks like. So who's on table one? Table one is Alex Chavez and Joey Greek. All right, let's submit some results from that match. Then let's pop back over to our form responses tab where we're going to live for most of the tournament. Let's go to round one. They're on table one. Alex is playing Joey. It was a good game. Of course it was. Let's say they played control. Victory points. Let's say Alex got 4. Let's say Joey got 2. Let's say Alex killed 1750. And let's say Joey killed 1500. And submit the results. So this is what your players will see afterwards. They will get a link here that they can click that will take them to the public results, so they can see what their score is. So we pop over here. All right, so here's Alex's result. You'll notice that row is in yellow, solid yellow, and that is okay. If a row is solid yellow, that just means we're waiting for our opponent to submit their results so we can check it to make sure that it matches. That's all. If we go over to the round one results, we'll see Alex has a row here, and we have calculated his round score, and it's a total of 17 based on all the variables that are in there. We calculated that automatically when the results came in. But we only calculate the round scores when results come in from the form. We only calculate them automatically when results come in from the form, which is different from the previous version. Previous version, anytime you changed anything in the form responses tab here, anytime you edited any of these, it would cause the scores to automatically get recalculated. And that ended up breaking a whole lot of stuff. Like most of the stability issues with the spreadsheet was because we were trying to automatically update every time anybody made any changes here. Google would decide to automatically update lots of other times, kind of for no reason, and that would end up causing things to lock up a lot. So we've gotten rid of that, and now because the trigger that we ran during setup to automatically check the results, we will also automatically calculate the scores when the form responses come in, but that's the only time it'll happen automatically. So now let's come back here. Let's back up. Oh no, I have closed it. So let's pop over here. Let's pop up here and reopen our form. Go to live form. And let's go ahead and put in Joey's results. So let's say it's round 1. We're on table 1. These are Joey's results. And he's talking about Alex. It was a good game. They played control. And let's say Joey puts in the other numbers. Let's say Joey puts in a 4. He puts them in backwards. Which is a thing that happens. People put in the exact same matching numbers instead of swapping the numbers around. All right. So let's come back and take a look. Okay. So now we've gotten Joey's results in. And as you can see, the rows are still yellow, but some of the specific cells have turned red. And that means there are a problem in these cells. If we pop over to the round results, we can see that it has calculated the results and it says that both of them win, which can't possibly be true. But they both got a 17. But based on what they've told us, that's the results we have. If we go take a look at the public HTML results and we refresh, it is still calculating. Google's still flushing those things through. There we go. Okay. So now see it lists them both having gotten a 17. The total results are also updated. They both have 17s. So that's got to be wrong because they can't both have won the game. So let's go back to the form responses. And now, so as I said, you as the TO basically live on this tab for most of the event. You wait for things to come in, and you look for rows that are yellow and have red cells, because that means there is something wrong. If the results come in and they're actually correct the first time, the rows will turn green, and you know you don't need to worry about them. But these are red, so that means there's something we need to fix. And there's 2 ways you can do that. You can ask the players to submit their results again correctly, and then delete the incorrect row after it comes in. Or you can fix it yourself. And I'm going to show you how to just fix it yourself. So we have these where it's clear what's happened. You know, the victory points and the opponent victory points are not right. Points you routed and points your opponent routed. They've, somebody got 4, somebody got 2, and they both put in that they got 4 and they got 2. So somebody has the scores flipped, and you just need to talk to the players, call them over, and ask them what was what. And let's say Alex got it right and Joey got them flipped. So we're going to change Joey's victory points here to 4. Again, you can see that all of the columns here are green, which means you can edit them, and we kind of expect you to edit them. So it's okay if you change these. It's not going to break anything. Oops. And then over here, kind of same thing. Joey got these numbers flipped. No offense to Joey. Lots of people make these kind of mistakes. Okay, so now the numbers are correct, right? Victory points match opponent victory points, and points you routed match points your opponent's routed for your opponent. But you'll notice that the colors have not changed. The colors still stay the same. If we popped over to the round results, we will see that the calculated results here still say both of them win and both of them have 17s, right? Which can't be correct. So we need to fix that. And the way we fix that is now, since these things don't happen automatically, we just have to tell the spreadsheet to please recalculate these things. So we go up to TO Tools first, and let's fix the colors. So if we do check form responses under TO Tools, that will run, and that will, again, check all of the results. And now they are correct, so now it's green. All right, the rows have turned green, so we know that they match. At least the players are consistent now. Whether they counted wrong and they didn't count up the number of victory points or attrition points correctly, we don't know. We just know that they've both told us the same thing, so that's fine. I will warn you guys that when you run check form responses, it will run against all of the responses. It'll run against everything in the spreadsheet. So as your event goes on and it gets longer, that will take a little longer and longer each time. So I would recommend not running it too often. I would recommend, like, if you have a round where there are multiple things that you need to correct all of them first, then run check form responses to fix the colors once all at the end, instead of changing one thing, then running it, then changing one thing, then running it, just for some efficiency and time savings. So now the other thing we need to do is we need to update the score calculation. So let's go up here Let's calculate scores, which is another TO Tools thing. And it'll ask you what round you want to calculate. You can put in a round number, specific round number, or all. So if you have an issue where for whatever like let's say in the config options under README, you decide after the tournament, let's see what this would look like as a different scoring system. You can come in here and type all, and it'll recalculate the scores for all of the rounds. Typically during the tournament, there's no reason for you to do that. You will just want to do this for the round that you're currently in, that you have done some updates to, some changes to. So go ahead and run that. It'll run and it'll update those two results. And there we go. Total battle score is blank. I wanted to figure out why. I may have accidentally deleted something there that needs to be there still. Yeah, I probably did actually. Okay, so I'll put that back. It's probably a little too overzealous getting rid of old data at some point and got rid of the formula. Can fix that right now and then fix it. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll fix that. All right, but so as you can see, now it says Alex's score is 17 and Joey's score is 6. So that means our scores have updated correctly. If we go back over to our public HTML and we refresh that, now we can see that Alex has got a 17 and Joey's got a 6, and everything is updated as appropriate. So that's basically it. That's your workflow as a TO during the tournament, right? While the rounds are going on, you watch form responses. They come in. If the colors are wrong, you make whatever corrections you need to. You check the responses again to make sure they're green. You recalculate the scores to make sure the scores are right everywhere for that round. That's it. You get to the end of the round. People have submitted all their results. Everything's green. Everything's recalculated. You pop back over to new pairings. You go under TO tools and you generate pairings for the next round. You make any adjustments that you need to because you want to put somebody at a streaming table, or there's two people that you know can't possibly play each other because there's a conflict, so you move those people to two different opponents or whatever changes you need to do in that review step. Then you copy and paste that into the pairings tab for whatever the next round is. As soon as you do that, it's public over in the public HTML version where the players can see it. Then that round starts. Then you come back over to the form responses tab. You watch the responses for that round come in, which will stick down here at the bottom. You correct issues as they come in. You update the colors to turn everything green. You recalculate the scores. That's it. That's your workflow during the event. Now, when you get to the end of the event or start getting towards the end of the event, if you scroll past these round results, there is a total results tab, and that's where we're going to start totaling up the overall scores for battle and sports and appearance, which you can also put in, and the player's choice votes that start coming at the end. Everything that adds into your overall score. After that, there is a tab for awards where I've calculated who should win each award. Overall, best general, best appearance, favorite opponent, player's choice. I do a counter charger on here. I do like a wooden spoon kind of award, and I do a best club. Feel free to use these if they look like they're coming out the way you expect them to, or calculate them yourself, or go in here and change these around to do whatever you want. The way this is currently set, if you win best overall, you are not eligible for any of the awards that fall under it: best general, best appearance, or favorite opponent. If you win best general, you can't win best appearance or favorite opponent. If you win best appearance, you can't win favorite opponent. Player's choice is open to anybody, even if you win any other award. So you can win, best of all, best overall, and still get player's choice. That I think is pretty standard for how tournaments do things. The next tab over from awards is appearance scores. If you're doing paint judging, you got your paint scores. This is just data entry. You just go through and add appearance scores. You add them there. We pop back over to total results. Now we see people have appearance scores and their overall scores are updated. We pop over to the awards. We can see now that best appearance is now Bart with 15 points. Right. And Alex's overall score is now 31. After appearance scores, you got where the sports scores are added up. So that's where you can see what those are. And then you got a couple of other things. Favorite opponent, this is where the favorite opponent votes get counted up. Player's choice, again, this is just where the form responses get totaled up for how many player's choice votes people have. This tab, kind of towards the end, called EOT votes, is end of tournament votes. So this will be a handy one for you to look at while people are starting to pack up. This will tell you who has and hasn't submitted the end of tournament results form. So, as people are packing their stuff up and you're yelling out, like, everybody remember to vote for player's choice. Everybody remember to vote for favorite opponent. If you want to know who hasn't done that, you can just come look here. So the timestamp of when they submit their vote will be listed here after they submit it. Okay, so anybody where this second column is blank has not voted yet. So as you're getting towards the end and you're missing a few, if you want to know specifically who you're missing, you can come to this tab. You work your way down, right? And you're like, oh, Ed hasn't put his in yet because his is blank. Ed, please submit your thing, right? You can call out specific people to make sure you get all the votes in. The last couple of tabs down here, there's where I calculate up the club scores for the top three players in each club, and then the last two tabs are for doing a random drawing, and that's under TO tools, right? Random drawing is right here. So if you want to randomly draw players for whatever reason, you just need to randomly pick one player, right? Random drawing. It'll ask you how many names to draw. You say one, it'll spit out a name at random. Robert Brandon, congratulations. You've been selected for The Price is Right or whatever. So do if you do like random drawings for your door prizes or something like that at the end, and you just want to put your players in a random order. I've got 32 players. I put in 32. It will spit them back in a random order, and you can just call people up in this order to come get their prizes. If you do something like a raffle where you sell tickets or you give out some number of tickets, you pop back to random drawing tickets, which is the tab right before. It again has all the players, and it's got an editable column for number of tickets. So if you sell tickets and like Alex bought 10 and Boehner bought 12, and Ed bought 13, and Bart bought 14. You just put those right there, okay? And now you can leave the rest blank. Nobody else bought tickets. Just those guys bought tickets. Cool. Now we come back over here. We can do a random drawing, and what it's going to do is it's going to select the people who have tickets, and it's going to make as many virtual tickets as you put in, basically. So if we say draw, 4 people have tickets. There are 4 names. It's going to ask, should I draw the same name more than once? So if you have a bunch of random tickets in there, you probably want to draw the same name more than once because people have multiple chances. So you say yes, and they'll draw 4 names. And we drew 2 tickets with Andy Fisk's name on it, and one with Alan and one with Alex. And there you go. So there's your random drawing. You can do those in batches if you want, because every time you draw a ticket, it decrements it over here. It takes the ticket out of the hat, right? So Andy had 13, now he's got 11. Alex had 10, now he's got 9, right? So as you pull the tickets out, the numbers go down accordingly for people. So the tickets get used up. So if you want to ask them in batches of like do 10 and then do another 10 and then do another 10, the tickets count keep up. If you want to just do it once because you have like 50 prizes, you just generate 50 names and then go down it. You can kind of do it either way you want. If you don't do anything like that in your tournament, these are the last 2 tabs. Just ignore them, and they don't matter. You mostly towards the end will want to look at the total results to make sure everything looks good, and the awards to make sure everything looks good there. And of course, the public HTML that your players look at, the total results, you'll notice get updated, but only show battle score, total attrition, and strength of schedule, which isn't all of the results that are available on total results here. So if when the whole tournament is over, you want to show everybody all of the things, like all of the results, right? Their sports score, their appearance score, their player's choice votes, and their overall score, you can do that by popping over to the public spreadsheet, going up here on total results, going to this query, it says A to E, right? And overall score is I. So we just change this instead of going to E to go all the way to I. We hit enter. And now we've got all of the results. Oh, I need to fix the formatting so it goes all the way over. That's fine. Or you can, if you want. Just highlight all these, go to format, alternating colors, pick blue, done. There we go. So after you're done, after everybody's leaving, if you want to publish the full dirty scores, all the dirty details, all the fine tuned grained stuff, because people want to see how many players choice votes did I get, what was my appearance score, all that. You just come and add these to the query here, the column A, row 1, update that E to I, and it'll put them all in. And we can do this and bring it back, and then I can come in here and format, and I can remove them. There we go. Cool, and then that's set it back to where it was. All right, so that is it. That is setting this up, configuring it, and basically what you have to do to run the full tournament from start to finish. I hope this looks doable. I hope this looks interesting and useful to you. Hopefully, if you have used this before, I hope you can see where the improvements have been made and where things are more streamlined and easier to use. If you haven't used it before, I hope this doesn't look too cumbersome. Let me know if you have any questions or need any help in the Facebook group. Otherwise, good luck. I hope this works nice and smoothly and saves you a lot of time and isn't too much of a source of frustration. You don't have to spend too much time wrestling with it. Hopefully it goes well and everything works like it's supposed to for you. And maybe I'll see you at a tournament sometime. Bye.